Guys, welcome back to the channel, and a massive shout out to T-Side Mobile Aircon for sponsoring today's video. Johnny at TMA kindly gave us the front bumper from Bonnie Blue, so he helped us get Bonnie Blue series finished. So what way than to give back and to show what TMA do with mobile air conditioning. So guys, for all your air conditioning needs, go and check out TMA. If you're in the T-Side area, they are fantastic. Guys, you know that I'm all in the interest of creating content, and now that Bonnie Blue is finished, I had a question from somebody and I thought I had to answer. Bonnie's been out on her journeys, on her travels. She's ready to get sold to ideally one of you guys, whoever wants it. But first, can I put this VW Caddy back to a manual? So then it got me thinking, well, how hard can this be? Now I know that the DSGs are very heavy, but I've got to get used to dropping them in, dropping them out, especially on the driveway, because you guys know how hard it is for me without a ramp. With a ramp, I'd lift this right up, take the bolts out, drop the gearbox out. But this is about driveway specials. This is about learning to do things on your own driveway, safely of course. So I'm going to start. So I think I've got all the bits apart from I need the one pipe that goes from the clutch master cylinder all the way around to the top of the gearbox. Now I have already got, which is somewhat cheating, but off my bottle, as you can see down there, I have already got this pipe that used to go to a master cylinder because it was a manual originally. So you'll need one of them, but also you'll need the wiring. Now this is the plug that connects to your master cylinder. This was a manual before. You can still see the hole down the back into the hole, the firewall there. So you'll need to also do something for that. And I will tell you the pinouts of exactly where this goes to in the video description for the plug. So we're going to jump straight into this, guys, getting that battery tray off, getting the battery out the way, and getting the airbox out the way so we can get to all the connections on top of the gearbox. Now, what I am going to say here is if you do like this type of content, make sure you do me a massive favour and smash that like and smash that subscribe button. It really does help the channel. So I'm just taking off some of the plugs, some of the bolts on top of the gearbox, and then I'm working in the battery tray, and then going to take the drive shafts out the gearbox, ready for the gearbox to be dropped. So it's took me pretty much about an hour to get to this stage. Drive shafts are out on both sides, majority of the gearbox bolts are out, the engine jack's down there, which is the red jack underneath the engine to support the engine, and then all I need to do really is, I've noticed that this pipe here on the DSG engines are different, so it goes from the engine block down to the oil filter housing. So either A, you bridge these two, or B, you just replace that pipe going from there down to there, which I will do. Disconnected all the wiring loom, everything is out the way now. So I mentioned before, there's only that plug over there which needs to be pinned in, so you'll need to pin that into your ECU, and I'll give you the wiring diagrams in the description for that. But there is one more, and that is this one here. So on your gearbox, this, I believe this is a sensor that goes on the gearbox. So this is not, or won't exist on a DSG, so you'll need to find where that goes and pin that in. I'll try and dig it out in the diagrams, and I'll let you guys know in the video description. But I'm in a position now where gearbox is pretty much jacked up, or due to be jacked up now. So the pressure is then off. The engine block, I've got two bolts to come out. Let's drop this down. I'll take this mount out, drop the gearbox down, get it out the way, and then get the flywheel, get the manual on, and then try and put it back to a manual. And I think other than that, it's just a change in VCDS, clutch pedal, brake pedal, and I think that is it. So I've now dropped out the gearbox and it's just on the ground, and I use the engine crane plus that bar just to get the DSG box out. It is very, very heavy. I'm trying to slide it this way and put it out the way for now. But as you can see, down here is our flywheel. So I'm going to get that flywheel zapped off, and then the plan is to put the manual flywheel on and get this back to a manual. So here's the flywheel, looking at it from a face on view, just taking the studs out with an impact gun. They are very, very tight, by the way. So if you're not reusing your flywheel, just get a steel hammer and just give it a good old knock around. If it's knackered, do the same. If you are wanting to keep your flywheel, then get a rubber mallet and use a rubber mallet rather than a steel hammer. Now what I did do as well here is got a crowbar behind it. And if you can see the mounting points on the gearbox on the right hand side where the bolts go, I just got a crowbar and just ever so slightly just moved it with a crowbar, and it did come off in the end. But they're very, very stubborn. Take that into consideration. We'll be watching this as a tutorial. The flywheel will only go on one way, so you've got to eyeball where the bolts go. So let me just get this up and I'll show you what I mean. So like that, it's pretty much perfect like that. So I think, just check that, top bolt, that is perfect. So, hang on, it's very tight in here. So hopefully you can hear me and see, but, so when you put a new flywheel on, you should put new flywheel bolts on, but if you haven't, put some Loctite on the threads and you can reuse the bolts. They advise not to do that, but I've never had a problem before, so we're going to reuse the bolts. I'm just going to stick a couple in now, and I'll mark up which ones have been tightened and which ones haven't been tightened. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. The reason for it is I've run out of Loctite, so I'm just going to put the bolts in. And then take them out one by one and mark them up when they've got Loctite on. So just put them all in temporary. And then loosely, just to make sure we've got the alignment up and the alignment right. Now we're going from manual to DSG here, so there should be no changes other than gearbox, flywheel. Right, I'm missing 2 bolts at the minute, so it'll be fine where they are, because they should be around here somewhere. There's one. Get them all in. As I said, the plan is just to get them in somewhat loose. And it still moves until you tighten it all up, so I just tighten them up in a star pattern when I do it, but I haven't got Loctite on at the minute and I need to get it on. So let me get some Loctite and let's get these tightened right the way in. But just for now, that will absolutely do us. And then what I do is go around and mark each one with a little bit of pen, but I've torqued up to spec, and I put 2 little dots on once I've put some Loctite on. Right, so let me show you where I'm up to. Now bearing in mind guys, this is the first manual clutch that I've done a long time ago, and I've never done a VW manual clutch, So just bear that in mind when I'm doing this. Maybe I won't get everything perfect. So let me spin you around, let me show you what I've just noticed there. So when I picked up the flywheel, so I got, there was a break in golf near me, and the clutch flywheel and pressure plate was about, I don't know, 30 or 40 quid. And the guy had not had it in long, as you can see. It's pretty good condition. So I put the bolt in here, and I've just noticed that actually the bolts don't sit right. So when I squeeze them in, they go too far. So what I've done is I've put the pressure plate, I've put this, which is like an alignment tool, clutch alignment tool, just to keep the plate in line with this as we tighten it up. And I think I've put the wrong nuts in. So I'm just going to spin these back off, and I think these smaller nuts are the ones that Now the smaller nuts were absolutely correct. I had longer nuts, I don't know why, but sometimes not a bad thing having longer nuts. Just depends what scenario you're talking about. So all I'm doing here is getting the engine crane in position. I've got a rope, as you've seen before, that wraps around the gearbox. It's a heavy duty rope or a heavy duty strap, and that just takes the weight. I've not got a second pair of hands. I do this all by myself. Sometimes I do call in the brother-in-law just to give us a hand. But like you say, some of these bits I like to try and do myself in case I want to start doing clutch repairs, clutch swaps, etc. on the driveway. So engine crane's in place. You can't really see much here, but what I do is get a crowbar and just try and move it and wiggle it up and wiggle it in position. Now the best thing to do is take both cups out on either side. You will lose gearbox oil when you do that, but that's the easiest way. That and the top mount on top of the gearbox, and it should slide up and back into position. Get your nuts back in, time to put the flywheel back in place, and then let's see if she starts. So we're now going to bleed the clutch. So I've got a clutch bleeding kit there, and if you just look down here, and I just crack off the pipe, and you will see in the middle, in a minute you'll hopefully see a bubble. You might even just catch a glimpse of the bubble there. And you can hear all the brake fluid just dropping into the bottle there. But so far, see the bubbles? See if I can get a little bit of a closer. Here's a bubble, there you go. So hopefully you can see that on camera. There's some more bubbles. So just keep that running and just keep an eye on this as well. Now it is connected to a tyre as well, so that's how the braking system works, or the bleeding system, sorry, works. And then we're just cracking this off here. Right, so I've just had to take off the full scuttle panel there because when I was bleeding it, the master cylinder kept popping out, and if it does that, you can see the brake fluid goes all over. Now what you need to do is, I've took the scuttle panel out because I need to get to where the master cylinder is. Now also to put the new drive shafts in, I'm going to have to drop the car down because I cannot get that drive shaft out of there. So I have to drop the car down on all its weight to crack the drive shafts off. Should have done that before, but look, lesson learned. They are very tight, but that master cylinder just down there, there's a little clip on the bottom there that holds the pipe in, that runs all the way down the back and goes into this slave here. So it's using the easy bleed. A lot of people, that needs to have 18 psi inside it, nothing more, nothing less, about 15 to 18 psi, so basically a flat tyre. You put that connector on there, it goes into this little tube, you fill this up with brake fluid, as you can hopefully see there, and what you do is you attach that to the top of your brake fluid reservoir. That is topping up now with a little bit more, but I have now managed to get the little silver clip. You possibly cannot see it, but there's a silver clip on that black little circle bit. I'm trying pointing my finger without removing the light from the video, but that little bit there, let's try and zoom in and show those who ain't got a clue. There's a silver clip there. Now that is a retaining clip. So I've got that in now. Now in theory, a bit bright that, I should have a clutch pedal now. So if it wasn't blade properly, you wouldn't get a clutch pedal. I know that's the DSG pedal that's coming out, but for now, oh, that would normally drop straight to the ground. Oh, beautiful. So we've got a clutch pedal now, which is even better. But look, this is a reality of learning. I thought this would be, it's not been that hard. It's been a couple of hours on it, which is not too bad. But I'm at a stage now where I need to get it dropped, get the drive shafts in, get the drive shaft bolts out, because they are very, very tight. It's snapped my Dugger gun bit twice, so they are very tight inside there. So I'm going to heat them up for like 10 minutes aside, get the drive shafts out, put the 2 manual drive shafts in, and I think we're done. So I'll catch you guys next week. We'll finish and wrap this series up from DSG to manual. I will put all the wiring in next week's video, and let's get this Caddy back to a manual, and then that's it. There's no more video series on Bonnie, just so you guys know. It's all about doing little bits, changing things, testing things now, and Bonnie's the ideal candidate because she's ready just to get sold on. So yeah, back to a manual. A lot of people are asking in the comments before about why go back to a manual. Know that DSG is very expensive if you can't fix it yourself, and I think if this van wants to go out there and I want it to do, you know, to last a couple of years down the line before anything goes wrong, I need to make sure that I put a manual back in it, because everyone knows that flywheel, clutch, when they're going, as soon as it's DSG, you're talking £1,000, £2,000, so it's the best interest for everybody else. And as well as that, I also want to put DSG on my grey Caddy over there. So 2 parts to it, and yeah, so do me a massive favour, make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys when we finish this off and get this DSG to a manual all done and dusted.